Hey guys, I thought I would do a quick video before this thunderstorm rolls in. I've had some people ask me about my side wheel modification I did on it to give me more yardage, more space for my yardage on my side wheel. And also I've had some people ask about this custom grip I made for my rifle. My rifle is not a fancy field target rifle, and that's kind of a cool thing about the hunter class is you don't have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on really high-end equipment. I mean, that helps if you got the means, that's great, but this is a used rifle that I bought that it's an accurate rifle, and basic scope, mil dot range finding scope, but anyway, just take a second to talk about this side wheel. So basically I'm doing field target on a budget, and I have this 100 millimeter side wheel, which helps a lot with giving you enough space on your side wheel for all your ranges. But whenever you get to like 55 yards, or actually really from 40 to 55, those marks will get really tight, really close together on this side wheel. So what I wanted to do is, and I don't, I'm on a budget, so I don't have a lot of money to spend on, custom side wheels, which are really nice, and if you can do that, that's great. So I actually borrowed this idea and modified it from another shooter friend of mine. But basically what I did is I went to the hardware store. You could probably go to the hardware store or a craft store, and bought this brass strip. And my side wheel is 1/2 inch wide, so I was able to buy a 1/2 inch wide brass strip. The thickness is probably like 1/2 of a 1/16, whatever that is, thickness. It might be a little less, a little more. Basically, you want something thick enough that it's not flimsy and it's not going to easily get warped, but thick, but not so thick that you can't bend it. So what I did is I bent this shape by hand. Just took it really slow. This is actually easy to do. This long, you just little by little you bend it by hand. What's kind of hard, man, there's mosquitoes everywhere. What's kind of hard is to get this sharp curve and then back around. You can do part of this by hand. I actually also used a rubber mallet and a wood dowel in a vise, and kind of used it sort of like an anvil to shape it. Before you do that though, you probably want, you get your strip and put like blue painter's tape or something on it to sort of protect the finish so you don't scratch it all up. This is a 12-inch piece of brass stripping, metal trim, and it was just barely enough to get me the shape I want. You can probably get this same kind of material on Amazon at longer lengths. So, but check out your hardware store. Maybe they have what you need. The trick is though, you get your shape kind of made out the way you want, and then drilled through the brass strip, and also drilled a hole through my side wheel and used stainless steel rivets to hold it on. Use one on the top, and then you really need to use two on the bottom. The reason you need to use two, if you only use one on each end, it's really easy for this as you're moving it to sort of get wonky side to side. So if you have two down here, that'll really keep it in place. The other thing I did was made a out of a piece of it's either aluminum or stainless steel. Again, got it at the hardware store. Sort of a guide to give me a guide to what yardage I'm at. So no matter where I move, the diameter changes. So no matter where I move it, it's pointing at the side, at the markings on the side wheel. So that's that. It's really helpful to already know where your yardages are on your wheel. So I actually suggest, before you even make this, go ahead and make, even if it's on tape on your wheel, make some marks where your 10 yard and your 55 yard is. That way whenever you make your modification here, that the size that you've made this, it'll reach your 55. See, my 55 is right there, so it's getting close to the end of my they kind of call this a comma wheel. So that's how you make that. Didn't take too long, and I did have to grind where these popper rivets are attached. I did have to grind on my side wheel, because the side wheel, the stock side wheel here, it comes with this kind of ribbed edge on it, just so you can get a grip on it, and that was giving me a hard time, you know, getting a flat place to mount. So I just ground down those knobs right there where the rivets attach. All right, so that's that. The next thing I get asked about sometimes is this, maybe you can see it here, this custom grit. And this is a second generation Marauder. It has a long length of pull, a little too long for my liking, and I was having a hard time you know, getting a good grip on it and being comfortable. So, and I don't have the means really to buy a whole new stock, which would be really cool if I could do that. Maybe a thumb hole stock. But so what I did, and I really didn't want to sort of hack up the stock. You know, it's not the fanciest stock in the world, but anyway, what I did is I found this product. It's called Instamorph. What it is, it's moldable plastic, and it comes in these beads, and I'll show you those beads now. So these plastic beads are really cool because they have a low melting point, and what you do is you put you know, a whole bunch of these in boiling hot water, and they start to stick together, and you can kind of whip them around with a fork, and they'll all kind of clump together, and you just mold it to get, it sort of makes about the consistency of silly putty, maybe a little thicker, but anyway, you kind of just mold it to the shape you want once they're all in there in your hot water. Pull it out, and I just kind of mold it to my hand, and also pressed it against the stock here to give, you know, make the contour of the stock. Once it dries, it gets really hard, and you can actually grind on it. You can sand it. You can even paint it if you want. You can drill through it. I didn't want to use screws, so what I did is I took some double-sided Gorilla tape, and it's this real thick adhesive tape, and I put a strip on the back of it and stuck my grip on the stock, and it actually holds on there pretty well. So that's that. It's, you know, maybe not the prettiest thing in the world, but it's very functional and gives me the grip I want. So that's you know, a bit about the brass. One of the downsides to the brass is it will tarnish a little bit over time. I mean, like I've had this on, I think, over a year, and I started noticing on the edges a little bit of tarnish. You can polish it off, no big deal, just probably from the sweat on your hands and the elements. What I do is I actually use clear tape, because I kind of like showing off the brass because it matches some of the other brass I've got on here. I use clear packing tape, put a layer of that on, make my markings, and then another layer of clear tape just to protect those markings. So there is an aluminum version that's of this kind of stripping that's available. You might be interested in that. I have noticed once or twice in a match, when the sun is just right, getting a little bit of sort of bling in my eye. It didn't really affect me much, but I did notice it once or twice over the last year, but it's not a huge deal. But if it was a big deal to you, you could always paint it flat black. So there's that. The other thing is the Instamorph. You can get Instamorph, I believe, on Amazon, but also they've got their own website, instamorph.com. You can get it in different colors. You might want a different color than black. I think they even have a glow-in-the-dark version. So anyway, kind of a neat product. You might can think of some different things to do with it. Anyway, hope this helps. Until next time, aim small, miss small, and I will see you around. Thanks.